the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, which art in heaven, dear Lord God, it's once again that we humbly come before your throne of grace to give you thanks for your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We thank you, Lord God, for all of your many blessings bestowed upon each and every one of us. We pray, Lord God, in Jesus' name for your continued blessings upon our Mayor Pro Tem, our City Council, our City Manager, our City Attorney, and all the department heads on tonight as we make decisions for the betterment of all the citizens of Dillon. And we pray in everything that we do, we be careful to give your name the glory, your name the honor, and your name the praise. For it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
First, approval of the agenda, which will include an executive session to talk about the First Bank lease and the golf course agreement and land purchase. And after we return from to open session, we'll discuss what we did in executive session. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
I make a motion. I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Approval of last minutes, February 10th, 2020. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Nay? All right. I don't have a lot tonight. Looks like we've got a full agenda, so that's probably good. We've got the chili cook-off this Saturday. I don't know how many of you have been involved with that in the past. It's a lot of fun, and it's St. Patrick's Day. We're going to kind of combine those two. It's going to be out here beside, well, in the, what do we call that?
South Plaza.
South Plaza. Is that street going to be closed off? We're going to have music and it'll be nice. That's hopefully the weather will work with us on that. Continuing to some of the things that points that I've made in the past, and I'm going to bring these up because I want them to stay in front of us. Sewage, getting some kind of long-term plan for west of I-95, and also development and annexation of 34, hopefully out to Harley Ridge Road. And it doesn't look like we're doing anything, but these things are in the process of being worked through. Those things are not going to happen quickly, but I think they're things that we should keep in front of the council so that it's a little bit of a sore so that we stay on it and work through it. Really, that's about all I have. Lynn?
Excuse me, fighting off. I hope just a pollen infection here.
Well, I'm getting over migraine, so we're not going to
In your packet, and we had talked about this, I believe, back in the fall, prior to Christmas, about a truck route in Dillon. We had a truck route that was passed by council in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I submitted that again to the Department of Transportation, since they own the roads, most of the roads that this truck route would be a part of. And I put in a packet a copy of the response back to DOT, and just in short, at this point in time, based on what we had got in the ordinance 20 years ago, they're still not comfortable with that truck route because it takes them. We don't have an alternate route for the folks that's coming off of 95 and 34.
90 to go where? To the beach?
Anywhere, yeah. That is correct. But like I said, a copy of that letter from Mr. George
We're just trying to
Skipper.
cut it through downtown.
That is correct. Yeah.
But we were not eliminating the if you're coming off I-95 from Highway 9, we're not.
Well, that would be the truck route, basically.
Right. Right.
9 to 301.
Right.
And then 301,
Back to
either
9,
north or
back to-
south
yeah.
or east on 9 going out of town.
Yeah.
But DOT, as it stated in their letter, folks that are coming off of 34, we've got to include them, and that takes them out of the way to go to the number 9 route. So at this point in time, they said they do not recommend that truck route, and that they are, and the county is in the process of doing a traffic study due to the inland port, so this may be a part of that traffic study. But I just wanted to give you an update on that. This time last year, I came to council and told you I was applying for a FEMA grant to do some mitigation for flooding during hurricanes and high rain rates that we get in areas that flood. So we applied for a grant through FEMA to do a study of our stormwater system throughout the city. We were notified last week that we were granted that request, and based on the information that I gave them on what we thought the cost would be, about $240,000 to do this study, FEMA will pay 75% of that, which is roughly $180,000, and then we and the state, if the state goes along with this, would be on the hook for the 25% match, which equals $60,000.
So just to do the study is $250,000.
Right at it. Now, that hasn't been bidded out or anything like that, it's just, numbers that we put together. But whatever that cost is, FEMA will pay 75% of that cost. And then what they call the non-federal share. And if it's worked like it's done when we have a FEMA disaster, they pay 75%, we pay 25% of whatever we've got to fix or repair. And then a year later, the state may give us back 12.5% of that 25%. They will usually do that within a year after it's completed.
That's to pay for the study or any repairs as responsible?
No, this is strictly for study. I'm talking about when we've done FEMA stuff.
Oh, okay.
It follows the same guidelines as far as pay or percentage of what would be paid. So
Now, have you written a letter to DNR, talked to DNR about actually cleaning out Little PD on this side?
that will be a part of this study,
Okay.
in that, as we all know, and Bert and I met with the disaster preparedness folks and the South Carolina emergency preparedness folks last Friday, talking about these things. We all know that the water that stays in Dillon or goes out of Dillon's got to go outside of Dillon into the county. So that would be a portion of also getting that involved. Who's going to maintain, there may be canals that may need to be widened,
Right.
things of that nature, and that's what that study will also give us. And we have until 2022 for this to be done. Yeah. So roughly 2 years. It took us about a year before they notified us after we applied for the grant.
So
Who does that kind of study?
Different engineering firms.
You just put it out there on that.
So what you're saying is after this study is done and they come up with a result, the payment of that, you can obtain another grant to pay for that?
No. However, whenever that study is completed and there's cost associated to do the things that study recommends, we now have a study that now we can go in front of the feds or the state and say, this is what our study says, help us.
This is a recommendation.
Help
Oh, I
us
got
with grant money for that.
It's
That
not
is
a
correct.
given.
Yeah. That is correct. So that's where we are on the FEMA grant. The next item of business that I have is again talking about money. The state revolving fund, which is a part of the Commerce Department in South Carolina, along with FEMA and the federal government back in December, they gave the state X number of dollars to use through a loan program to do some mitigation on any infrastructure, water, sewer that may be has problems when we do have hurricanes or a lot of rain to create flooding. And we have one area in particular that we are always battling, and that's on the Hillside Drive area. The gravity sewer line that is in the swamp that comes from, is it from the high school area part?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
High school back over.
Goes through behind the high school, through the swamp, by the PD River, and then it comes up where Jackson Street,
Now it comes up at River Drive.
River Drive, okay. That line, we're continuously getting I&I, which layman's term, there's holes, there's breaks in the pipe where groundwater is coming in and flooding that system. And then now we're treating non-sewer at the wastewater plant. But when we have a lot of rain and the river rises and hurricanes, things of that nature, it just, that whole area floods. It floods our lift station. And then we just pretty much can't move any sewer in that area. SRF along with the feds have this program now where for $1 million, and this is just a number by the way, for $1 million over 20 years, we could borrow and pay $55,000 a year. That's roughly $5,000 interest per year and $50,000 for principal. Over that 20 years period, we borrowed $1 million, paid back $100,000. That's the only way we're going to be able to fix this.
Interest.
Yes, that's correct. The only way we're going to fix this is by using our own money. This area will not qualify for any grants because it's not a low to moderate income area. So we'll have to either fix this either out of pocket or the cash that we may have on, or we can borrow money
What size
to do
pipe?
this.
What size pipe is that for?
It's at 10.
Have we gone through this yet with the cameras and stuff?
No, we can't get in it. I mean, it's small. We can't do it. But we know we've done some smoking over the years of the lines, and so we know that there's a creation of gaps and holes and things of that nature. How old is that line, Hardy, do you know?
I'm guessing late 70s.
You know, we're talking 50-year-old, 40-year-old pipe.
And you said it was 10-inch?
I think it's 10.
So what I need from council, are you interested in going forward with this? Because there is a timeline if we're interested in borrowing this money.
What's the impact on that in your I&I, Artie, when it floods?
That lift station runs almost 24 hours a day with all this rain.
All right, so let me, and just help me with this. The lift station is receiving stuff back from that?
It's seeping through the ground into the pipes.
No.
Coming back against it.
Yeah, I mean, why do you need a lift station there?
You've got to pump it from that low point back up to another manhole.
Back to,
I think it goes
towards the pipe,
up there
towards the pipe that runs down in the swamp?
Yeah. You're pumping
and
that.
pumping it back towards the sewer plant, and it falls into a manhole on 24.
Okay.
So everything that way from Coker Street and all just goes straight down to River Drive and Hillside in the corner.
Okay. And then that is pumped to the pipe that goes, okay.
Pump back up stream to the grass.
What I'm asking council tonight is if you would give me permission to go forward as far as applying for this.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we will get it. It is a competitive type loan. But the quicker we can get our information in, the better chance we have. So, again, it's 1% money.
Need a motion?
Well, I'd like to have some direction, whether it's a motion or not. I'd like to have some
Well, I
direction.
mean, it's first I knew that pipe was trouble. I didn't know what the impact was. Any idea what it might cost us a year to treat that I&I?
No.
Artie, you got any idea?
No. And the good thing is, we are a 5 million gallon plant a day. And we have done some things over the years to to correct some I&I.
Right.
Again, this, yeah,
That's a big.
that was a big one, and this is practically like that one.
Right.
Is that, you know, if we can resolve that,
Yeah.
then that gives us some more capacity that
Right.
we
Capture
normally
capacity.
would have, yeah. Because we're taking that back out of the system.
We still have the capability of expanding our present spray field by
About 1 million
gallons.
gallons, give or take.
For about $1 a gallon, right?
I don't know what that number is today.
Now, yeah, it was $1 a gallon.
Now, the issue we had then,
But we
Hardy-
get grants for that.
yes,
Yeah.
Hardy, help me with my memory, was finding the land, was that additional spray and was that additional lagoon when we met?
Well,
We have the lagoon.
I was told that it was designed for a 2 MGD plant when they built it. But the problem is, they said we'd have to increase our air, but we'd also have to get some additional spray zones. And they did a study one time, and the land adjacent to the spray field at that time wouldn't pass.
Yeah.
These funds would replace what? All the lines or just that part?
No, just that portion.
The part going out?
Yeah, just that portion, that is correct.
That won't go, $1 million won't touch that.
Well, and they sent me engineer A&Com, who we're using some now on water and sewer. We're looking at about 6,500 linear feet of 10-inch pipe. So what is that, a little over a mile worth of pipe?
Yeah. That'd be a $3 or $4 million project. If you're replacing it all?
We've got, the best estimate right now is about $350,000 to do, and we're not replacing it. They go in and
Smoke and fix.
what do they do with that, Hardy? Line it?
Well, you just slip line it or
Yeah.
pipe bursting.
Okay.
There's no taps on the line
Yeah.
through the swamp, so you won't have to dig anything up. You're not doing a point repair or anything. You just line what you have.
So what kind of pipe is there now?
I think it's clay.
So it's terracotta pipe. It's joint every 10.
Probably.
It could be 4.
So your joint lines are gone, the roots are all in it.
And they just broke that over. And this process is, that they come in and they just put in a new pipe, bust it
What
out.
you have,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not digging anything up, you're just inserting something inside of it.
Drilling that, cleaning and pushing.
Yep. And then pushing out. But just in that cost is roughly $350,000.
For the whole pipe?
For 6,200 feet. Yeah. Just to do that process now.
Right.
And then, and I'm pulling out the big numbers, to do the pump station, which we would have to, in a sense, relocate it, but in the same area, it's a deep well, bring the pumps out of the well to the top. Pumps, controls, and enclosures is another roughly $300,000. So just right there, you're at $650,000, not counting other things that would be a part of this. But, you know, that's the best guess until that's actually bidded out.
You got 1 million gallons a day, you know, I mean, that has stayed wet for, you know, about the last 3 years, so you're probably.
Here in the last 3 months, you know, we've been wet every day, and all it's doing is taking in the groundwater.
Yeah.
To where
Can I
that
get a motion for him to apply?
Well, it
for
wasn't
this
on the
money?
agenda, it's just in your report. We're not
Yeah.
about to vote on it.
Well, all I just need is direction, and it's not that we're committing to anything other than me to apply,
Yeah,
is all it is.
you'd like some support on the application.
I don't want to apply if you don't want me to. And if you want to apply, we can apply, and then if for some reason we get it, we have to come back to council for approval to accept.
You'd like.
So I just want direction. I mean,
Okay.
I don't.
I make a motion that we apply. Can I get a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
State insurance, We've talked about that several months now, and it's completed as far as paperwork has been submitted prior to our deadline of March 1st. We've done that. We've also paid our deposit towards our new premium that was due also prior to March 1st. Those folks will be in town on May the 5th from 10 to 12 to meet with employees, to go over the insurance program, to answer any questions they may have. Those of you that want to be on the program, if you can, it'd be nice if you could be there that day. If not, when open enrollment actually comes, Janet will do the open enrollment so she can answer those questions, because she'll do a 1 or 2 day seminar with these folks to get up to speed with what they require. Open enrollment has to be completed by June 1st?
No, before the end of May.
Okay, before the end of May. So we'll come back in council meeting in May and tell you when to come to see Janet if you want to be on this insurance, so she can, do your open enrollment. I will tell you, if you're putting any children on this plan, you've got to provide a long form birth certificate. If you're putting a spouse on the plan, you've got to provide, it was the first page of your state tax, your federal taxes, where it shows if you're filing jointly, it shows that your spouse's name is on there as well.
And if not, you'll need a marriage license.
Yeah. Or a copy of the marriage license. That is correct.
You mean if you have your wife on it, you gotta have a copy of the marriage license?
Either your marriage license and or if you file jointly taxes, you can, that first page where it shows that you're filing jointly. That's not ours, that is PETA's policy there. Lastly, that I have at this time, just a reminder for everyone that the police department is holding a community meeting tomorrow at 6:30 at the Wellness Center. I know it's been on Facebook several times, and then as well as the newspaper, if I'm not mistaken. That's all I have at this time.
Okay, thank you. Janet,
Okay.
let me get, before you get rolling, let me get on the stuff, man. And, we've been kind of hard, lining all these things, line item, and, if you have questions for Janet, she's available, to us. I mean, we don't all need to, go through each line item. I think that the purpose is that we're looking at it, and we want to look at it, and make sure that we're going in the right direction. If we're not, then hopefully Janet can give us some explanation as to why we're doing that. Go ahead.
Okay. In general fund, our total cash account's $1,300,308. Stormwater is $148,125. In our revenues versus 2019 to 2020, we had $121,551 more in revenues in 19 than we did in 20. And some of that is due to the fact that we haven't paid ourselves back from the Wellness Center for the 2% for the Wellness Center for the budget ending June of last year, but hopefully that'll be done in the next month. And then we had $238,004 more in 2019 than in 20 expenses.
Just run over budget, or?
Yeah, and I didn't go down and
Okay.
pull everything out
You can see
in 2019, but I can.
Oh, more expenses in 2019.
19 than we did in 20.
After 6 months.
Yeah.
Compared to 6 months.
Yeah. And then our water and sewer, with our non-restricted accounts, we've got $1,622,491. In our restricted accounts, we have $1,916,703, bringing both totals to $3,539,194. Our revenues in 20 versus 19, we had $116,509 more in revenues in 20 than we did in 19. Our expenses in 20 versus 19, we had $270,306 more in expenses in 20 than we did 19. Okay. You want me to?
Got an idea why that?
Yeah. We've had a lot of pump repairs, and we purchased a truck. Then we had to do some work at the water plants, which totaled about $64,289. But the trucks and pump repairs was $119,731. Sludge hauling is $36,471 more,
Why is that?
because we hauling more than we did in 19.
Well, I understand that. Why, I mean, why are we hauling more sludge?
I don't know, it's just making all it can make. I can't explain it. Plant's running perfect, but just accumulating a lot of sludge.
Our concentration's not getting out of whack again from,
Not that I know of.
you know, are our revenues up? Up a little bit, but, I mean, what? You know,
Well,
that-
we've collected 75% of what we budgeted, and we should be somewhere around the 66%,
So maybe it is up. And I think we can anticipate maybe some growth that's produced, so.
And also remember, we're comparing 6 months this year versus 6 months of last year. And right now, our revenues in water and sewer is 3.3 million. Our expenses are 2.5, so, you know, we're about 800,000 ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm just, and the only caution is that in the past, that's how we picked up that, you know, we could have picked up before we had the $1 million sinkhole, that we were hauling a lot more sludge and we were not getting any more revenue, and we were getting a higher concentration that dropped that volume, and that's why we had the sinkholes. Dropped the volume in the pipes, eroded the pipes broke, and I just want to kind of make sure we're not falling behind. Okay. All right.
Then the golf course, our cash account's $52,007. That's due to the fact that the county paid us the $50,000. Okay, and we have spent we've collected $4,996 more in 20 than we did in 19. Our expenses was $4,749 more in 20 than in 19 in the golf course.
They didn't overseed, and they haven't done a lot of things. What's that expensive?
One of them was that pump
That pump,
for the
yeah.
irrigation.
Then our 2% hospitality, we've got our accounts are $905,257. Our revenues is $538 more in 19 than in 20, and that's due to maybe collections falling over in March that was due for February.
You don't see, I mean, I don't see it slowing down out there by any stretch.
And then, of course, we've transferred $120,000 to the golf course for the year to date. Our wellness center, of course, we made our payment in January, which was $239,474. We've got 5 annual payments left. We will finish that in 2025.
What about stormwater?
The stormwater, okay, I'll do that. Okay, the stormwater, we have collected $93,412, and we've spent, let me see where we're at. We spent $80,921.55.
Two guys are on,
Yeah.
they're working. How's that working out?
Bert's not here tonight. We replaced the pipe there on South 3rd Avenue that was discussed at our last meeting. That's been completed. We replaced some pipe there on East Main Street between 6th and 8th Avenue. I'm trying to think if there was another one that we did. But we're working at pretty hard. They out either fixing pipe or cleaning pipe. And in fact, I had someone come out of the office today, wanted to thank me for what we're doing on 301 there at First Citizen in Dillon Herald. And
Made an impact there.
no, actually, we haven't done anything there. And I told him, I appreciate the compliment. It's just, when it floods the road there is when we get a good bit of rain at one time. What we've gotten lately is slow rain.
Right.
So it gives it time to do something. But I appreciated the compliment, but I also told him we hadn't done anything.
Glenn, when we gonna get the cameras over here on Stewart Street, Carolina Avenue, to find out about all this flooding out
So
here?
whenever they can get, I mean, right now we're hitting places that where we know water was standing for a long period of time. That's the ones areas that we're hitting.
Are we finished on the east side with the camera?
No, we still got Cleveland Street, I know we've got to do, I think there was one over there on Washington Street and still in the Johnson Drive area, we've got to do some more there. First Avenue, South First Avenue area, we've already taken care of those, or we think we have anyway until we get, the rain, like we get into flooding. So we've got Stewart Heights area, North First, J.B. Martin area, we haven't done anything over there yet. As far as video and anything.
I mean, where did Hampton Street right here, where it was?
It goes to Calhoun, and then comes down Calhoun back towards 3rd Avenue and dumps in here. And then
That Third Avenue ahead, this 3 block right here.
we hope. We cleaned that because, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, all that was underwater. Those houses there, they couldn't get out of their house. So we went over and we cleaned. Now we've got to go back now and video that area and see exactly what it is.
I do got one question I'd like to ask about the budget. Can I do that? Can you provide me with the miscellaneous and the sign and the donation? Can you provide that to me through an email or something, Janet?
What is that in?
Which,
It's the local ATAC.
Oh, okay, yeah.
no, that's donations and signs.
Right. Can you provide that to me on what you're paying out of that? That's all
And that was in the local accommodation tax?
It's the ATAX, the 3%.
3%.
Janet, that all?
That's it.
Okay. Bridget, downtown coordinator.
Just to give you an update on the master planning process. On February the 27th last month, we did the second series. At that meeting, Benchmark Planning was in charge of that session. They went through all the data that they had collected during the first trip. They met with Jay David and Councilman Washington and Todd Davis came to the second session, so we did have some representation there. In this session, we saw a lot of how the plan is going to shape. They presented the maps and went through all those, so it's taking shape. And they also presented the feedback and asked us to give any feedback that we felt like they had missed in that session. And that was about it.
You had, it was one at the Wellness Center.
Mhm.
You have maybe 3 or 4 business owners there?
Yeah.
That was, is that the one that I was in?
No, this was the next one. We had another one last week, 2 weeks ago.
No, I mean the first one.
You were in the listening sessions.
Okay.
So this time they presented all the data that they collected over those 2 days, and they had interviewed over 40 people. So they presented their findings.
Yeah.
And so that's what this session was. This was also the public forum, so anybody from the public who wanted to participate were invited. The next session will be an actual workshop. So they'll be bringing in the maps and everything, and that's where we're gonna like really dig into it. And I think they want to do that session in May.
let me just say this. Rehabbing one of those buildings, it is not cheap. It is not cheap. But they're pretty. I mean, there's a lot of character in those downtown buildings,
And that, speaking of that, there's a small business forum, and I forget the date right now, I forgot to write it down. But that is going to be, the SBA is coming into Dillon next month. Do you remember
It's
that
in
date?
April, I don't remember the date.
Okay. But SBA is coming to Dillon, they're meeting with all the banks in Dillon, and actually they're extending it out a little bit. But what the Small Business Administration will provide is like a loan guarantee, so that the local banks will be more apt to lend to the smaller businesses, and they guarantee the loan. So if the local business owner unfortunately have to default on the loan, the small business will come in and guarantee that loan, so the bank don't suffer a loss. So hopefully that'll help with the lending for those people who are working on projects. Any more questions?
good, thank you. And I've got on the schedule, Second Amendment rights, Andrew Harden, got 5 minutes.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to come and speak tonight. A little bit about myself. My name is Andrew Harden. I'm 30 years old, father of 3. Right out of high school, joined the United States Army as an infantryman. Once I got out, I became a deputy for Florence County for approximately 5 years. Moved to Dillon in 2014 and currently raised my kids and have my family here. I've sworn to guard the Constitution twice, and I'm not wearing a badge anymore or a service uniform, but I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in all of our constitutional rights. So a group of us across the state has approached city and county councils about guaranteeing a Second Amendment sanctuary. What that does is protects us against red flag laws. In the past week, 5 counties in the entire state have become sanctuary counties, and 4 are pending now. So I've written up a little speech, and I want to share with you. In 1798, 5th U.S. Congress passed Alien and Seditional Acts, unconstitutional, infringe on the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and freedom of the press. Virginia and Kentucky passed nullification resolutions saying we will not comply. Thomas Jefferson wrote at the same time, nullification is the rightful remedy whenever the government violates the Constitution. Now, over 200 years later, our governments at all levels are tripping over themselves and acting unconstitutional gun control legislation. It is hard for me to process because the Second Amendment is quite simple and is easy to understand. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The first sentence of the South Carolina Constitutional in Article 1, Section 20 reads the same, shall not be infringed. What does that mean? Well, the Founding Fathers' letters were perfectly clear on this, shall not be infringed on the government. Since 1934, there have been 11 pieces of federal government legislation that have been infringed on the Second Amendment. They deal with the manufacture, transfer, import, trade, licensing, possession, carry, government background checks, assault weapon bans, purchase, and various firearms accessories, even holding manufacturers and licensed dealers liable when crimes have been committed with their products. And now we have proposed red flag laws. Laws that not only infringe on our Second Amendment, but are also in direct violation of our Fifth Amendment to right to due process. But then we live in South Carolina, and we are a red state. So why do we need a Second Amendment sanctuary counties? Columbia City Council and Mayor recently passed gun control legislation on where you can carry a gun in the city, and also passed their version of a red flag law. South Carolina legislator proposed gun control legislation. According to the Greenville News, there have been 50 pieces of gun control legislation proposed in the South Carolina legislature since 2017. Luckily, none have passed. Currently before the legislature, 2 red flag law bills, H.3275 and H.4991, 3 bills restricting who can own a firearm, S.1039, H.3053 and H.4087. An assault weapons ban -8.4682. For the past 3 years, we have failed to pass constitutional carry, and we are one of only 5 states that have no form of open carry. So much for not being infringed, even in our beautiful Palmetto State. The good news is that the American public is finally waking up. Because of the gun control measures that have been taken by the new governor in Virginia, 86 counties and 19 cities in that state have enacted some form of Second Amendment sanctuary resolution. In North Carolina, 8 counties have been declared Second Amendment sanctuary status, and counties in other states have quickly followed. Pennsylvania, Maryland, Oregon, Washington, Kansas, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Texas, just to name a few. In South Carolina, we already have 5 counties that have been declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuary counties. Americans across the great country are finally standing up and saying enough is enough, and we will not comply to unconstitutional gun laws. Councilman, I urge you to pass this ordinance. This ordinance, at this time, is the rightful remedy. As a former law enforcement officer, husband, and father of 3, I know the importance of the Second Amendment. I choose to take a stand in preserving the right that was given us by our founding fathers. I will fight to preserve the rights, and not only the good citizens of this great county, but the residents of South Carolina. I ask that you do what is right and protect these rights. Allow our great county to become a Second Amendment sanctuary so that our citizens can protect themselves against the evils of this world. Thank you for listening, and God bless. So what I'm asking for the council is to be proactive, not wait until it presents itself. We need to get ahead of it and go ahead and preserve our rights for the Second Amendment. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Is that a county, that's a county issue, or is that a?
Jack would have to answer that.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's more of, it's federal law when it comes to guns. There are some state law initiatives, but we can't override the Constitution by no means.
Right, I don't.
Yeah.
Hold the Constitution.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think if you as a council could, if you wanted to, pass a resolution supporting it, but that doesn't give you, and it's just a
They give you
resolution.
meat on the bone.
I mean,
If I may, so
Yeah.
since I live in the city, I was advised to approach city council. If I need to take it to county council, I don't mind doing so.
that's where I would also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
And
not pushing the
we're not
button.
trying to put you off, we
No, I
just
understand.
don't know whether we
Yes,
have
Yes, sir.
the power
Right.
to address what you're
Right.
asking us to.
I figured that I'd have to approach both city and
Yeah.
county council,
Yeah.
but my main priority is getting it,
Yeah. Yeah.
getting it done.
And still, if a little bit that I do know about it, which is very little, if the state, the General Assembly decided to put
Mandate.
restrictions or
Yeah.
mandate
Right.
certain things that go against the Second Amendment, being a sanctuary city or county, so it doesn't affect us. But, am I right?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean,
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Citizens report. Go ahead.
David Longacre, I'd like to ask a question about the golf course.
Okay.
How much do we actually spend in 1 year on the golf course?
I think what's budgeted.
What is the lease cost?
That's $2,500 a month, that's $30,000 a year.
Okay. How much are we actually collecting to offset that cost? That is paying for itself.
Well, it's not paying for itself. It's subsidized to about $15,000 a month, isn't that correct?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Isn't it subsidized? Don't we
Yes.
basically spend about $15,000 a month of the 2% money?
Somewhere in that ballpark.
$15,000 a month.
Yes, sir.
Up
To go
to
to-
15,000 a month.
Yeah.
Well, as a collective whole, I brought quite a bit of people to let everybody know most of the citizens of Dillon are against it. We're tired of paying for it.
You don't pay for it.
Where does the money come from?
2% hot meals tax.
Then that's us paying for it. We are opposing it. If it gets passed, we will put it out to the general public further.
Okay.
We are opposing it. It has to pay for itself or it's done.
Well, what about the police department?
That's a protective service, which
Well,
we need way more of since we're having all the crime spree.
all right, so,
Those funds could be put into
what
downtown
about the
Dillon
wellness? No, you can't. You can't do
to
that.
promote Dillon.
Nope.
Yes.
Well, you can
What
use
about the
it,
wellness?
you can use it as
Are you
part
gonna
of
shut
the
the
promotion.
$5.1 million wellness center down? You gonna shut that down too?
Well, we need to figure out ways to make that generate more money. That's a
It's not gonna
problem.
be profitable. You know, we're here to.
The golf course is losing way too much money. That money could be put in something way better.
Give me an example.
How about the downtown? Get more
Just told you
involved
we
in
can't
it.
spend it downtown. There's restrictions.
Okay, what's the
on-
restriction?
Probably on,
Well, it has to be tourism related.
Okay.
I mean, you can do.
Why wouldn't
tourism
you
related.
promote tourism for the downtown where you generate more money coming into the businesses and paying taxes than to a golf course where we're losing so much money?
Okay. Anyone else?
What about putting a public swimming pool in at the wellness center? The tourists come in the motels, there's no swimming pools at any of the motels.
Right.
And
We're working on
that's
that.
one of the things
A
we
public
definitely
swimming
want to
pool,
do.
a regular swimming pool,
Yeah.
not just for,
Well.
But is it a swimming pool we're talking about, or we're talking about a therapeutic pool?
I'm talking about swimming.
An
pool.
actual swimming pool for
Where
the
you
public.
collect
What is the council
money.
talking about? What kind of pool is the council talking about?
Well, the whole
It has to be a
plan,
wellness-
the whole plan,
wellness place.
the whole plan in the beginning was not to have an open swimming pool.
Open swim was.
Was just due to having lifeguards and things of that nature. I don't know many that have swimming pools anymore, municipalities, there are some, but their biggest issue is having to keep it closed, not having lifeguards, things of that nature. What was initially planned 15 years ago at Wellness Center was a therapeutic pool type.
Well, two.
But also do
Yeah.
swimming lessons, things of that nature.
Therapeutic pool and also a lap pool where you could have, you know, we have schools that have swim teams. LATA, I think, goes to Francis Marion, if I'm not mistaken. There's, and that was, those, we've got 5 more payments of $250,000. And that's what we would like to do next at the Wellness Center is swimming pools, but it won't be free swim.
The Wellness Center is well and fine. I understand that one is costing money, but it has a much bigger use than what the golf course does. That's the
When was the
general,
last time you went to the golf course?
we don't.
we don't.
Okay.
We
Maybe
don't.
you ought to, maybe you ought to see a population that uses that.
Florence is a great example. They had lots of golf courses. They went to almost nothing over there because they couldn't afford to keep them up anymore. People are dwindling.
May I just interject a little bit?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a total resident of West Vegas. My son came down and lived with us 3 months ago, and he's an avid golfer. He went with a friend of his over to the golf course, and he came home and he said, what a shame. He said, that golf course is going nowhere, it's not maintained. He said, there's so much that could be done there, and they're not taking advantage of what they have. And he said, the facilities inside were dirty, not well kept. There was open food standing on the counters. But he said the course itself, it's just not a pleasure to play golf. I'm not a golfer myself, but I know that we hear a lot of people saying they don't go there to play anymore. In fact, a lot of the local golf courses are closing because golf no longer is the major sport, from what I understand. So that's just my input.
Anyone else?
If I can just add one thing, I don't know if these citizens out here actually know, but we got $50,000 from the county. Well, the $50,000 goes straight to the golf course. So that's $350,000 of tax-paying money that's went to the golf course. Now, we got a
That's part of
complex,
that, that's part of the 180. Yeah.
$350,000 is what I'm coming up with. Over 7 years of $50,000, do the math. But bottom line is, this council, some of the council members that wasn't on here at the time, voted for the $50,000 to go to the golf course instead of going out here to the complex to help the children. We got fields on the backside that could be redone right now. Practice is getting ready to start with softball and baseball. We do nothing for the kids. Also with the parks.
Exactly.
I mean, we
There's
can do a lot of
that can promote tourism in general.
So, I mean,
with
I'm
that
just
kind of
letting
money.
y'all know some of the things that could be done that y'all don't know.
Anyone else?
Well, since, changing gear, Dr. Wallace, we're on the transportation piece. I understand the county has done their part, are doing their part.
PDRTA?
Correct, yes.
That'll be
It's-
discussed during the budget process.
Okay.
That's what, he was
We're
here
gonna do
last month.
something. I feel pretty sure we're gonna do something you know. I think it's something that we need to do, and we had some pretty positive input. So I don't know how much, but I feel pretty sure we're gonna do something. Yes, sir.
Because each of you was sworn to
Sir?
speak for the people of the city of Dillon.
Right.
In fact, every meeting we say for the betterment of Dillon. I'm sure all of you have more than one transportation piece, or one mode of transportation. This transportation piece is not for you guys, it's for the citizen in Dillon.
Yes, sir. That's fine.
So,
That's fine. We wanna, that's what
we
we're
need
here
to
to
do
do. We're
something.
here to serve.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
But if I can ask towards the PDRTA, Mr. Strickland came, was it last month, and said they were gonna start it up in April, Mr. Smith. I'd like to know where the stops are gonna be at. Nobody's even told us, council-wise. Now, some of the council members might know, I don't know. Where the stops gonna be in the city, you know?
That hasn't been,
So, I mean, I would hope that Mr. Strickland would get the ball rolling so we can help our citizens get to these stops so we can transport.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do have one more question about the meeting tomorrow with the police. What is that going to entail? Could-
We will give a short presentation, just kind of inform people about what our department consists of, what the employees, what the different employees do. We're going to give a visual presentation of what crimes we had in the past 12 months, and where the crimes were located, and after that, just kind of let it be a question and answer session.
As citizens, what can we do more to support the police department? Because crime just keeps going up and up and up.
Show
and
up
it's
to the meeting.
bad.
Show up to the meeting and express your concerns, and let's try and find some real answers that
Okay.
we can all collaborate on.
And if I could add one thing, David, didn't you say the judges for the this time? Or
they've been
judges?
invited.
They've
I
been
think the city
invited.
manager invited.
Okay, so possibly the judge can be there.
Is it a matter of putting more money into the police department and hire another officer? Or is it just the management of the department? Has anybody, talked about any of that? I mean, if you need more officers,
Pam, I don't think you can police crime down, honestly, I think more people need to go to church. We might have less crime, but we're doing it. We have we're supplementing with cars. We've been behind a little bit on police officers, but I think now, where are we with that, David?
We're still struggling some.
Yeah. You know, you have, you have so many attacks on police, nobody wants to go into it anymore. So it's really hard to get good officers to commit, good people to commit to becoming police officers. Honestly, I understand.
And so do we as citizens,
Yeah.
but we're asking, what can we do? Because the crime
Right.
is becoming a huge problem.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do to help the police get this
You see
taken care of?
you see something that doesn't look right, call. Yes,
Sir,
sir.
if I may, I don't know if this has ever been a discussion or not, but I know in Florence County, we had reserve programs. So maybe if we had a reserve program for volunteers, I would personally volunteer. I can't quit my full-time job
Right.
because of the money, but my days off, I'd love to come help. So maybe if that's something you can foresee in the near future.
David?
Sure. I mean,
You know David-
sign up for it.
David Lane?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, could I add something? I've analyzed these figures before between the golf course and the wellness center, and we're basically a little bit less than 50-50 to expense to income ratio from people actually paying between membership fees all the way down to snacks, soft drinks, and donations. And I think if you weigh it out between that and the wellness center is far out of tilt over and above the golf course. The golf course, to me, is a little bit more profitable.
But we don't.
But we're
even
not
own
in the
it.
business of profit, though.
And we don't even own the golf course though.
Well, you're not talking about a small amount to lease out a amount of property. That's a small amount.
At least we own the wellness center, at least there's some kind of value there. We have $0 left.
But we are producing income, though. If we weren't producing income, that would be a different story. But we are producing income. We are maintaining at least 50%. And the wellness center is about 40.
I didn't get my breakdown in my packet on the golf course.
What breakdown?
As far as, over the years, the money that we've taken out.
I was waiting, thought we had the audit tonight, so I have those numbers for 2019. We'll do it when we get there. We should be April, am I correct now? So we'll have that.
We just got to remember, anything that happens to do in government, I mean, if it's something for the people, to benefit the people, I mean, we're here to maintain that, not take away. I mean, the only good thing about the golf course to me is from a charitable purpose and what it creates for the community, y'all, and it's in excess of $500,000. That's going to have to come from another source. So I don't know how you would do it if you don't have those benefits out there.
We could run another golf course for that one charity event,
Whether you wouldn't have one here, where would you go?
somewhere local. We can,
What they
the
did
one of the
beforehand.
few that's left in
What
Florence.
they do beforehand. What
They
the charity.
still have it, of course.
So the government's got to pay for them to be able to have the charity events, basically what you're saying.
So you're saying it's a bad decision to have the golf course, technically,
Yes.
but not the wellness center.
The wellness center, we already bought the puppy. The golf course, we're just leasing it.
Well, that could change. You understand?
Well, Dillon once owned the golf course and we gave it away. We've been leasing it and now we're looking at buying it back.
We did what? Gave it away.
Dillon owned it at one time. It was sold, but it was sold cheap.
No, at the beginning, 9 individuals started that course. There were 9 men in
And
this
it was
town.
given to Dillon.
No, it was given to Dick Santa Mills. Dick Santa Mills absorbed it and took it when they first came, and through Mahasco Industries. They fueled it until the upper members were going to buy it, the members that were out there. But then when that process of doing that, somebody outbid it and bought it, which was Mr. Johnson out of Atlanta. He ended up buying it away from people in the community that want to buy it. But it is a small amount for the value of the property. I don't think anybody here could lease that amount of land for $2,500 a month. That's all. Even if it was farmland, you see what I'm saying?
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
How y'all doing? I'm here, I reckon we have a complaint on a fence I have down on 8th Avenue at my shop down there. And we got a permit to put the fence back up. We went in and kind of worked the land a little bit to try to get some rocks in there, but it's been raining every darn week, I believe. And when it starts to dry out and they want to come in, it rains again. So I just wanted y'all to know, if you do get a complaint, I am working on it. I have a permit. I'm gonna put that fence back up and clean it up in that area. I just wanted y'all to know, I'm not realizing, not doing anything about the
Not being
problem.
sloppy, you just can't get.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it happen, so I didn't, I heard some complaints and I said, darn it, I need to come up here and just tell y'all, I am trying to address it. I'm praying every night. Praying every
You and the
night.
farmers. Farmers need a little dry.
Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, let's go to old business.
It'll be ordinance 20-01, annexation property on Highway 301 South. This is at the old Arnett Motors facility.
I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 20-02 is property that's located at 300 East Palmetto Street, which runs beside the Arnett Motors property that we just annexed in.
I'll make a motion. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 20-03 is property located at 901 Highway 301 South. This is one block beyond Arnett Motors. That's the same property owner that wants to annex into the city.
Get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 20-04 is property that's also located in 923 Highway 301 South. This is the old South Carolina Electric and Gas building there at the railroad track.
I'll make the motion. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Ordinance 20-05, this is property for QT convenience store located on, will be located on Highway 34, right after you get off the interstate heading into town, to the left, across the street from the Harbor Freight entrance.
Make a motion.
You said it's gonna be left or right?
To the left if you're coming back in town.
Okay.
Across the street. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 20-06 is the adoption of the 2018 edition of the International Building, Residential, Plumbing, Mechanical, Fire, Fuel, and Fuel Gas Code. This falls under building inspections and permits.
All those in favor? I need a, I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Got it. All those in favor? Aye. All right. All right, new business, ordinance number 20-07, Sunday alcohol sales, first reading.
Since our last meeting, I've been in contact with the Department of Revenue, who oversees alcoholic permits and licensing through the state. They also are the folks who do the issuing of license and permits for any Sunday alcohol sales. I submitted our proposed ordinance to those folks 2 weeks ago. It meets state code in that where what's listed on this ordinance and it passes second reading, that's what will be on the referendum for the people to vote in November to allow on-site consumption or off-site consumption on Sunday. Now, all you're doing is passing a ordinance
It allows that to be on the ballot.
to allow to be on the
People
referendum.
decide.
That is
Yep.
correct.
So the question for you, Glenn, I've had many people ask me about this. If it does pass, does it mean the blue laws, the 1 o'clock thing, as far as, I mean, can you just start serving?
Yeah.
Are we going to try to fit that in after we see what's going to happen with the vote? Is that, or how does
Fit
it work?
what, when you say fit
Will the
what?
Sunday alcohol sales start at 8 o'clock that morning?
Oh,
Or is
it's 24 hours.
24 hours?
Yes, 24 hours. No different than any other day.
Okay.
Now, if it passes, a business, restaurant, grocery store, convenience store, they still have to apply for permits. They still have to pay Department of Revenue money for that Sunday to get those permits to do that.
How quick does it go in effect?
It would go in effect, I'm assuming, January. That's the assumption I would make. I don't know that. As soon as Department of Revenue got all their paperwork, once this passed, we would then notify them that it did pass. Then they would start updating their online applications and things of that nature for however long it takes to do that. I would assume that's when it would begin. And it will be a two-process question also. If you read the ordinance, it says, shall the South Carolina Department of Revenue be authorized to issue temporary permits in the city for a period not to exceed 24 hours to allow the possession, sale, consumption of alcoholic liquors by the drink to bona fide nonprofit organizations and business establishments otherwise authorized to be licensed for consumption on premise sales, quote unquote, that's restaurants. Or shall the department be authorized to issue temporary permits in the city for a period of not to exceed 24 hours to allow the sale of beer and wine at off-permitted, off-premises locations without regard to days or hours for sale, meaning convenience stores, grocery stores, that type of thing. But when it's on the ballot, those two questions will be there for people to either vote yes or no for one question, yes or no for the other question. One could pass, or none could pass, or both could pass, is the way this would work.
Do we actually know how much money this would generate for the city?
No.
Can you explain to everybody about alcoholic liquors, what that encompasses?
Alcoholic liquors is anything that can be sold in a restaurant on premise, would include beer, wine, and liquor. And the reason it doesn't say beer, wine in that question on site compared to off site, you can't sell liquor off site because ABC stores are not open on Sundays.
How do you determine what the cost of the permit or whatever?
The state makes that determination.
Is it 3,000?
They make that
It's
determination.
$62 a Sunday.
They make that
$62.
determination there.
I get a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
I say.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right.
Accept bids on Highway number 9 water tank improvements. The city, we applied through AECom engineering firm, through SRF, through what is known as a RIA grant, rural infrastructure. We received that to do some rehab work for a Highway number 9 water tank right in front of the racetrack area off of number 9. We received, there were 4 bids that were presented, but one of them pulled out at the end, so there were only 3 bids that were presented. High bid was $575,000 from a company called Scott I Enterprise out of Columbia. Suburban Contractors LLC out of Anderson, South Carolina came in with a low bid of $461,000. The grant is at $475,000, so we came under what the grant was. And this will include.
We have to match any of that?
Yeah, we have a 15-20% of our cost on that. This will include rehabbing number 9 water tank facility. We weren't able to do this in the past because prior to getting that one on Highway 34 at the park, we didn't have the capacity to take one of our tanks offline. Now that we've got 3 tanks, we now can start working on some of these tanks and getting them back to tip-top shape.
Get a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion for the lowest bidder? Is that-
Yeah.
Lowest
For the
bid.
lowest bidder.
All right.
I'll
All
second. You got a second? Go ahead.
all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, council member report, Johnny?
Glenn, I thought you would talk about the hotel in the meeting you had with the business owner. I want to tell you I appreciate you talking to him.
Yeah, and I will bring that up real quick. The hotel that we've been, or the motel we've been talking about on number 9, Chief Lane and I sat down with the owners, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. We're working out some things to help them, for them to help us. Haven't nailed down everything we want done out there, but they seem to be willing to offer advice, and also willing to maybe contract us where we can put extra people out there and they pay that cost.
But you will acknowledge we do have a problem.
Well, based on what we've seen, we have issues there, yes, sir.
Also, I'd like for y'all to look into, I'm hearing that they got makeshift tents behind the motel, the hotel. So if we can get an officer just to go back there and look to see, we don't want that, you know? But if you would, also behind the
Food
motel,
line?
if y'all would do that. Next thing is this, the lady in the audience asked a while ago about the police officers. I have a big concern here. We just hired an animal control officer. You had 7 to 8 applicants to put in for that job. Police officers wise, we had 3 officers down, and we only had 4 applicants put in for the job. Now, the animal control officer makes just as much money as a police officer starting off. I'm asking this council, I've been on council almost over 11 years. I'm asking this council to look into trying to, our first responders, we are the lowest paid. I don't know if you went and researched it or not.
Yeah, I did.
We are the lowest paid. We have to increase this. Now, money's not going to be a motivator on everything, but money is a motivator on some things. I'm not going to speak for Chief Lane, but he don't have any incentives to offer anybody coming to the police department. Now, we've done a lot of things that we hadn't done over the years. But I'm asking, we've not just only the first responders, but the employees altogether. You got some employees that don't make but $13.50 to $13.75 an hour, and they've been here 10, 12 years. We've got to look at this. We've got to change it. Somehow, not a 50-cent raise, at least $1. And I'm hoping, Glenn, that you'll come back, not at the last minute. You asked me not to come at the 11th hour this time, not long, and I'm doing it. But come back 2 or 3 months now and let us know what you can propose. What can we do?
Well, it'll be, again, I sound like a broken record when we talk about insurance, especially to the employees. We won't know, because I feel like we're going to have a huge savings this year from insurance. But we won't know that really until the latter part of May.
You want to give all the officers $1 raise, $2 raise?
I don't know what it is, Dr. Ross. I would like to see us be able to give $1 raise to all the employees across the board.
Okay, all right, so $1
But
raise
I'm
to
not- I don't
everybody.
have
How
them
many-
numbers.
How many employees do we have? Well, I won't give you the numbers.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it, if just using $1 as you suggest.
Now, I'm just talking about hourly
Yeah,
employees.
hourly employees. If you're talking about $1, it costs the city right off the top,
How many employees do you have?
9 cents, that's $1.09 per employee, because that's retirement. You'd have to include salary employees. I'll just throw out a number, not sure, 60. I mean, hourly employees,
Hourly
60.
employees, 60.
Yeah, somewhere in that
So
ballpark.
$1 an hour is $2,040 a year. So that's $120,000 a year that you're going to add. So how many meals is that? That's about 8 meals. calculator, 8 mils, 120,000.
Well, not necessarily. Now, we're gonna have a substantial savings with the insurance, so that can offset a lot of the costs.
All I'm saying is that, you know, it's a sustained, you know, you can't take back a dollar raise. If you've got to sustain that in your budget.
Right.
In order to make that work, 120, what's a mil, 16?
About 17,000.
So what's that, 90, how much,
Hold on.
how many mils is that, 9 mils?
9 times 17 is $150-some-odd-thousand.
Okay, so maybe it's 7 mils.
Well, again, we won't know.
Yeah, I'm just asking you to crunch the
Well,
numbers
and-
and bring them back, so we have an ample time
And I
to look
wanna
at it.
pay, I wanna be fair, but now you said we were the bottom. My understanding is that we were exactly in the middle the last time we looked.
Well, we were, but everybody in our surrounding area now has,
Well, let's do that again. I mean, we wanna be fair.
David's got it also. We got a copy of everybody in our area last week.
I mean, and if we're not in the middle or upper end, then let's get there.
Well, my thing is, I realize the numbers that you're gonna have to give with all the new insurance. I just want you to come back and give us a little bit of time that we can look at it, digest it, and hopefully be able to do something. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not gonna, I just don't wanna see us pass a budget where we're gonna rob one-time money to make that for 1 year, and then the next year, we're in a place where we don't have that money, and now we've gotta raise taxes and raise taxes and raise taxes.
And lastly, I understand what you're saying, Dr. Wallace, but we gotta protect the citizens at all costs.
That, I
We've got to
have
do
no
that.
challenge to that. No challenge to that. But and I'm not opposed to the millage increase, but I just don't want everybody to say, hey, gone, you know, Dillon went up 7 meals. You know,
We can't
that's
go
what it
that
takes.
much,
That's what it takes. We'll do it. You know?
That's all.
We all elected. You can
That's
get
all.
rid of us at any time. All right, Jay?
MacArthur to Calhoun, was that shown in the paper that
I
that was
don't
back
know,
open?
I don't know, it's open 2 ways. All the
Is there any
signs
way
went
we
down.
can put that in there just to notify the public?
Betsy, you know if that's been in the paper, have you put anything in there?
I did when y'all first were talking about it, but I don't know that I ever did anything after that. I'll do that.
You'll
I
put
think
something
the
in?
public needs to be aware of that because I think it'll take a lot of pressure off that lining up from 301 back. If they would just, and I don't have anything else.
Just touch on the water. I noticed them out and about the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I can just tell you now, some of the places where water was standing that I seen them working at, the water's not standing like it was. Main Street, because I live on Main Street, the water flowed pretty good. I hadn't seen any standing water there. Up there, I think they worked around Barfields, right across between Barfields and the First Citizens. They were doing some work there, and I've noticed the water wasn't there as bad, and some other places. So whatever they're doing, it is helping. So
What they did on Main Street, is that downflow from his area? East?
No.
East.
No.
The flow is the other way,
Yeah.
it's towards him.
Yeah, that's correct.
Where does that go to?
That cuts back through Calhoun Street, through a canal, through, it ends up in the big canal that runs behind the landfill.
Okay.
But it drops in somewhere around,
Yeah.
what's that, South Elementary
Yeah.
is where it
there's a
drops in.
canal
back
that
in.
runs back there,
Yeah.
where old school used to be.
Yes.
Tim?
On Hudson Street and Sixth Avenue, that runs right there at the corner where I have this busted line in the middle of the road there. I thought it was just water from that was standing, but it's actually a little hole that water's seeking out of. So if we can get somebody to get over and fix that. And I called Bert tomorrow. We had some people call about wanting some sand in their yard. So I just called Bert tomorrow to get those lists to him. That's it.
Anyone else? Need a motion to go into executive session, and I've lost my, it's about First Bank.
First Bank lease
contract,
agreement,
and,
golf course lease agreement, and possible land purchase.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Second.